Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, we lost Quinice. We gotta get her up here too. One second. Let me see if I can pull her up here.
There
There we
she is.
go. I
There we are.
gotcha.
Thank you. I'm like, the button disappeared. What just happened? Okay.
Told you. All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you guys all for being here. So we are talking today about really tippy. And we thought this was a really good timing for this session today because most businesses, unless you filed an extension, but most businesses have really completed their 2025 tax season now at this point and gotten through that. So, amen, hallelujah. We're through that season and moving on now. But we wanted to come back in because there was an important bill that passed for the salon industry. And Marci's going to do a really great job of explaining that in just a few minutes. But we do have two of our Aura and Tippy Salon owners on, which is Miranda and Quinice. And so, good morning, ladies, and thank you for being here. What we're talking about today is that bill. We're also talking about Tippy in general. They both have two different types of businesses, so we're going to go through that also, and we'll give them a second to introduce their businesses to everybody. But there is a chat box down below or a Q&A box if you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to ask of them or just comments to put in here, go ahead and drop it in there. We'll make sure we review that. And then this session is being recorded, so this will be shared out afterwards. This will also be in our Aura Education as well, so you can find this conversation later on at any point that you want to reference back as well. So first, let me introduce Marci from Tippy. Thank you for being here. Marci is our tipping expert and our partner for Aura and all things tipping. So before Marci, we kind of get into that, let's Miranda and Quinice go through a little bit. We were just talking about our businesses or your businesses rather, and the differences and sort of all that. So, Quinice, do you want to start us and just introduce yourself a little bit, and your salon?
Yeah, sure thing. Hello, everyone. My name is Quinice Arnold. I'm the proud owner of Conceit Nail and Beauty Studios. We are located in the heart of Smyrna Market Village in Smyrna, Georgia. The salon actually was under a different name, different ownership, has been in the community for about 15 years. I became owner about 4 years ago. We are a full service nail salon. We are walk-in. We do all of the nail services. We're slowly bringing in more of the beauty esthetician services as well. And our staff are full 1099 as of now. So that's our business and our structure. And yeah, I'm so excited to share more about how we use Aura and Tippy.
How long have you been using Aura and Tippy?
Oh, wow. So I guess now it's going on almost maybe 2.5 years with Aura and Tippy. I'd say maybe. Goodness. It feels like just yesterday, but I feel like it's been a while now because we were part of when Tippy and Oris first integrated together,
Mhm.
which I was so excited to be even part of that beta testing to just see the full rollout. So we were there right when the beginning, whenever that was.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Miranda, can you tell us about you and your business?
Hi, yeah, I'm Miranda. I own Salon 488 in Walpole, New Hampshire. Um, I we're a W-2 salon, so I was using Square for my booking system and all that stuff and payroll and all that. But the tips were not correct a lot of the time, so I had to go through all my transactions every week just to make sure the tips were correct. So, Aura has really, I mean, Aura and Tippy have made it easier for me in that way. I think uh I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
It's a
Um, no, I think it's easy because even I think there's been like two times where the Tippy, it was a user error and Tippy didn't do it, but on the payroll report on Aura, it still was like this tip didn't get paid out. And I was like, oh, okay. So that made it easy for payroll also, just like a
Mhm.
copy and paste situation. So overall, it's been really helpful for me. But
Good. And you've been in business for about 2 years.
yeah, it'll be 2 years in August. And then I brought Tippy and Aura on in the middle of July last year. So it hasn't fully been a year yet.
Okay. So you made that transition out of some painful reporting errors, right? And finding some relief in that. So, all right, well, we're gonna get to a little bit more about that. But Marci, can you kind of fill us all in? And something that to just for anybody paying attention, but the tax bill that got passed, it took a really long time to kind of cross the finish line. And at the very end, it was like, is it gonna pass? Is it not gonna pass? It was kind of like watching the NBA playoffs the other day, and it finally did pass, right? But it was such a long process that I think people stopped paying attention, kind of, right? And it was like, is it gonna go or not gonna go? And we'll just see what happens. So, can you give us a big refresh on what are we talking about, and how does this impact a business owner? What does this look like for the service providers? And then we'll break into conversation after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. It's so funny you just compared that to the NBA finals. But it really has been, I mean, and long before, I mean, this is like years and years and years in the making. And then it really got intense over probably like the last maybe like 2 to 3 years. It really started to get closer. And then it was that like up and down, like, is it, isn't it? Is it, isn't it? And so it's really amazing that it happened. And to be able to watch all those, and there's so many key players that really helped to push that along. But what's cool is that it did pass, and it's great for our industry as a whole. There's benefits both to the service providers in the industry as well as salon owners and the business owners in the beauty industry. And so that's what's really cool about it. Now, to your point, Lori, there's a lot of people who don't even realize that it did pass. And so those people are relying on like their tax professionals or CPAs, whoever's preparing their taxes to have that knowledge and to explain that to them. But so just to give you a quick idea of what those two main parts were. So there is the 45B tip tax credit, which is for the business owners, right? So business owners like Miranda who have W-2 employees, they pay taxes on what their employees make, including their tips, and part of that is FICA. And so what happens now with this 45B tip tax credit is Miranda can apply for a dollar for dollar tip tax credit on all of those FICA taxes that she's paying her employees. And this is something, if you're familiar with the restaurant industry, this has been a benefit for the restaurant industry for, I couldn't even tell you how long, but as long as I've known about it. So they've had that as a long time. And the beauty industry, who also relies heavily on tips, never had access to that until now. So this is huge for business owners. The other flip side to that is the no tax on tips, which a lot of people kind of heard that phrase. And so that is for the service providers, and that allows them up to $25,000 of no taxes on those tip income for that $25,000 threshold. So again, this is huge, especially for our industry where we've always been trying to legitimize our industry as a whole and to just show people how professional we are and things like that. So now this incentivizes both service providers and salon owners to report properly so that they're reporting all of that tip income to receive those benefits. So that was a little bit of a long-winded short summary, but there's my short summary.
Perfectly well said, and very much easier to follow and understand than reading through the entire bill
Yeah.
and all everything that got passed. And something that Quinice mentioned before we joined, and she said, yeah, and also we get the Tippy rebate back too, which is also a really good point. So can you just touch on that really quickly for anybody that doesn't know what that is?
Yeah, so Quinice is using our Aura integrated option, which allows her to get a 2% rebate back every month on all the tips and fees that process through her salon every month. So again, that's just another added benefit. I know, Quinice, you had some examples of some of the things that you were able to use that money for. And it can be anything from, I think you mentioned some candy, restocking the coffee. It can be for education classes. It can be to replace some tools. It can be for many different things, but that 2% rebate, depending on how much you're processing month to month, can be a significant savings as well for the salon. So, yeah, it's big.
Awesome. So I want to get in. I know without people having a full understanding of sort of like what this tax really looks like, but when we talk about what this change was, Marci, and I don't think Miranda and Queenice, you guys really needed to do this necessarily, but I don't know if Marci, if you had any experience in with salons that were doing this, but did we need to communicate this change with like the team and with maybe even your accountant? Obviously your accountant probably should be familiar with it, right? Hopefully, if not, we had to tell them about it. But what were the communications that we saw once this passed to make sure that salon owners and Queenies and Miranda, that you guys were getting the full benefit of, applying for that credit, and that your team was aware that, hey, even though maybe you didn't change the process and your tips are still being reported the same way, this is what you're going to see.
So I think that there's a lot of organizations within our industry that have really tried hard to spread this information because it is so valuable. But at the end of the day, I think it does kind of fall on all of us to help communicate those things because a lot of people don't know and don't realize it. And I know we spoke a little bit prior, and I know Miranda and Quinice both have really great practices in their businesses. But I mean, listen, we used to work behind the chair too, and like it was before, cash went away, so I don't think anybody even told me when I first started doing hair that like you needed to report those or you should be telling somebody that you got that money. I just left work every day with my cash and was happy. But so there's still people out there like that are getting tips through other, whether it's still in cash or through its digital cash transactions, a bunch of different ways that people are still receiving tips and they're not properly reporting them. And a lot of times what happens is they don't realize that or realize the repercussions of that until they go to make like a big life purchase, like they want to buy a car or get a mortgage. And then all of a sudden they're like, but look, I have all this extra money. I've been sticking it in my shoebox under my bed for 2 years. And they're like, that unfortunately, like that doesn't mean anything if there's no trail for it. So now I think the importance of reporting tips, not only do people understand the importance of it, but also now there's incentive to do that. And so if people don't realize that, then they may still be doing things the incorrect way. And so for us to be able to just kind of spread that knowledge to people so that people are taking advantage of that in any way that we, can help spread the word is super important.
Mm-hmm. Queenice and Miranda, have you guys seen any, like, do you think your customers know about tipping and the tax that their providers might be paying or now not paying? Do you hear anything about that from a customer perspective?
I don't. Nobody, the customers don't really talk about the tax that angle a lot. I think they really, again, like that, they'll see the machine, like the tipping machine, they'll be like, oh, what's this? And like they think that's cool, that they'll just receive it right away instead of waiting for their paycheck. But nobody talks about the tax stuff, really. For me, at least. I don't know.
And we don't necessarily hear from the customers about the tip being on the tax side, but what we do see and what I'm so happy to kind of re-educate our clientele about is that the tips go all to the nail tech. Unfortunately, in the nail industry, there are many salons that they take portions of the tips from the nail techs, especially when they're processed with credit cards. You may even seen it too. Sometimes you'll see like they'll just ball up the money and just put it in a little fist, and they're just like here, take it. Don't let anybody see it. And like it's like such a little, because we don't want the owner to know that, and it's just been such a taboo unnecessarily in the nail industry. So for our clients to tell them like, listen, this all goes to the nail tech. They get it right away. You see their beautiful picture when it's time to tip them. It makes it easier to just keep everything more convenient for the customer. That's been the biggest like wow from them.
Mm-hmm. I don't, it is taboo-ish, but it's not necessarily just to nail salon either. I remember when I was in the salon and people used to do that too, and they would wad it up like that and they would hide
Right,
it, and
sorry.
they put it in your hand and make sure. And they did, I did hear from people like they knew that we were taxed on it, and they were like, I don't want you to have to pay extra, I want this all for you kind of thing. And they would make sure that they wanted you to know that you received it from them. And I think that's part of tipping too, is, or with Tippy specifically, they're clicking on your picture. They know, cha-ching, you get it in your wallet. They know before they even hit the door, they know that you got that tip. And that was part of putting it in your hand too. They wanted to make sure that you knew it was from them. So there's like a who's told us like this Jerry Seinfeld thing, right? Like I want you to know that I'm giving you my tip. And it's totally true because if you walk on, you're like, wait, did they know? Did they know that I left them something extra or something for them or how much I left them? And did they have to share it with somebody? And with Tippy, you can select either your associate or whoever did your shampoo or who helped, plus the provider. And they know that it all goes to them. But you're right. And I think using Tippy kind of removes that taboo a little bit. But that's part of that thing of it is or are our clients educated on the fact that hey, if by using this we're not getting taxed on this and that it is all coming directly to the providers and they are seeing that it came from you. And so I didn't know what that level of education is for them, or are we explaining to them that this is why Tippy, provides these benefits to us. What do we think now, knowing what this legislation looks like and what the salon owners can receive from it and the service providers? Is there any ideas, even Marci, from you too, what we think that this is how this is going to impact our industry as a whole over the next few years or somewhere in our future?
I'll jump in first. I think one of the things is that I think when we talk about what's reported as salaries in our industry, I think that it's always below what people actually make. And I think a lot of that is contributed to the fact that people haven't always fully reported their tip income, right? So I remember when I first went to beauty school and they went through this like flip chart, and the average salary at the time was like pretty low. And my mom was like, that's, are you going to be able to build a life off that? But then we talked to so many people and they were like, oh, that's before all your tips and your Christmas gifts and all the things you get from clients. And it was so true, And so I think one of the things that it will change is that if we start to see more and more people fully reporting, I think it's going to help to increase that. Now, obviously, over the years, that has risen as well. But I think even more so now, I think that that will encourage people to fully report their tips. And I think that it will elevate that median income range also for our industry over time.
Mm-hmm. And also, don't you feel, Miranda and Queenie, do you feel like this will help you to elevate your recruiting?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, that's one of my main things I love promoting that we offer Tippy as part of our compensation package because a lot of salons either have the nail techs wait till payday, which can sometimes even be once or twice a month, or even worse, like I mentioned before, taking money away from the tips. And or even charging for back bar, all types of stuff that's just worked in. It's just not transparent, nor is it fair. With Tippy, we're able to do both. And we have actually seen a higher increase in tips since using Tippy. One of our pillars, like we say all the time for Conceit, is convenience, quality care, community, right? The first of those is convenience. No one wants to, especially after getting a beautiful manicure, a beautiful massage, you got the nice oils on, or maybe even have fresh polish. You don't want to go digging in your bag and having to, fumble through to get a tip. With Tippy and with Aura together, that not only can we have the profile set up, their card on file. They can just tell us whatever they need. We can do express pay with just one button. Everything's fast. Or even for our clients, especially nowadays who are so, and rightfully so, protective of their information and want to make sure that it's always being protected, they can check themselves out. We set them up ready to pay. Once we click that button, they can input their own information. They can do their tip completely, not anonymously to the nail tech, but sometimes if we're really, really busy and say they want to leave a big tip, maybe they don't want that, you know what I mean? So it just gives that extra sense of security for those clients as well. I mean, and again, like for recruiting, to know that they can see it all. And like you said, Marcy, about increasing their total bottom line. And I can say with confidence, our nail techs are bringing home X amount annually, including tips, because we can say with confidence, this is, pretty standard. You can't guarantee tips, right? But if you're doing your job, you're showing up, we now have a pattern that we can show with kind of certainty the type of money you should be seeing for the clientele we have. So all of those are huge, huge bonuses for a new team member.
I love that you brought up that recruiting piece because It's such a good point too, because even when somebody's leaving one position for another, that's another great piece that this comes to, because depending on your pay cycle, that person may then be going 3 or 4 weeks without a paycheck because of the how the transition happens. But when you've got Tippy, they're going to have that income in between as well. So they're going to have something that helps them to get through that period till they start balancing out on your payroll again. So that's a great.
Yes.
Miranda, do you have any thoughts on recruiting or building your team? Because I know less than, coming up on a 2-year anniversary,
Mm.
uh, and I think what six providers in your salon, employee-based salon. So how do you feel like this might be a way to help incentivize new providers coming in and talking to them about, their potential growth path in the salon?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that when I did change over, everyone was super excited to be able to have their money right away. And yeah, people who come in, like I just hired a girl and she's like, I've never even heard of this before. She didn't even know. So I think that's pretty cool. And that it all links right to, I think, the branch card, which is that's the bank that you guys use. So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
I
good
think
for
that's
them.
something like Marcy, you mentioned, going home with all your tips at the end of the night. And there is something to that. I think the difference is when you go home with your tips at the end of the night and it's in a digital form versus if I'm going home with all my cash at the end of the night, I'm stopping at the grocery store, I'm stopping at the gas station, I'm stopping at wherever it is. And then I actually went home with no tip money, right? So like when you actually see it and you can track it that way to see, well, how much did I make in tips this week? You can see what you're doing and you're a little more conscious about what you are spending your money on, versus just having free cash flowing all over the place.
And the girls in the salon actually use it, like they'll compete with each other to be like, did you use your branch card this week? And they'll be like, no, I haven't
Oh,
spent any of it. So, like they'll do that, and that's pretty funny.
yeah. I don't remember how long ago this, I think it was a sometime last year, but Marcy, maybe you remember we did like a feedback thing on like what are you spending your money on kind of thing. What are you spending your tip money on? And people use it for like vacations and people set it aside for like some really big ticket items, which is really cool when you can see those things because it almost feels like you're not getting it, right? If you're not using it, you're not seeing it's not in your hand, you kind of let it set aside as a little bit of a savings, tactic for you, and then you can use it towards some of these other things. But that's cool that they kind of compete with each other that way. Um, what do you think, Marcy? I'm going to ask you this question. For the bill that passed, what do you think the biggest benefit or the biggest drawback is going to be from a tippy perspective in the industry?
Well, I think it's a big deal because I think and I want to just kind of be careful about how I word this. Because our industry, like I said earlier, we've tips have always kind of been like yeah, we report them, no, we don't report them, or and so even moving to a system like Tippy is, people were like, oh, I don't want anybody to see that. I don't want anybody to see our tip income. That's like a secret. That's like nobody needs to know that. I'll tell them what we're getting, and so there was a lot of hesitation for some people about their tips having a basically like a record and being on a digital record somewhere. And so now that there's no reason to hide tips anymore because there's so many more benefits that outweigh that. I think that more and more businesses will adopt things like Tippy and again, outside of just those tax solutions alone, those tax benefits, Miranda and Quinice have given some great examples about higher tips. We see higher tips once they implement Tippy. We see more staff satisfaction, so it helps with the retention and recruiting. And so there's all these domino benefits that come with it as well. And I think we'll just see more and more businesses continue to adopt systems like this where they can actually legitimize the tipping portion of their business.
Mm-hmm. Miranda and Quinice, why did you guys initially, like Quinice, you said you were using Tippy even before, or partnered and integrated with Tippy, but why did you guys initially bring it in? Like, what was it for you that you're like, ooh, you know what? I need this, or this is going to benefit me and my team. Like, what was that? Why?
Um, you want to go?
You can, oh, I used it. I was, what drew me to it was that, like I had said before, I was having to do sorting through all these transactions, figuring out what tips were whose, and then payroll. It was it's kind of a nightmare when it came to that. So, and then when my rep reached out to me about it, I was like, oh God, yeah. And then the girls could get their money right away. And I think that that's the main goal for them
Hmm.
when it comes to
Yeah.
tips.
Tracking and reporting a lot for you and making sure
Yeah.
that that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty much was my main thing too, because again, as I mentioned, it was always important to me to make sure my team got their tips right away. But the challenge is I was the one doing all of the math, doing all of the subtraction, breaking down what service, and then because it's nails, maybe one person did the manicure, one person did the pedicure, somebody else did the art, and then trying to calculate, like it added so much more to my everyday. And it just became something I almost resented a little bit, right? You want people to get tips, you're happy to do it, but it was like, wow, it's a lot. So when I first saw that solution immediately, I was like, yes, somebody gets it. I've been saying this, like, I want this, let's do it right away. And then, like, I feel like it was a little magic in the air because I actually was there and met the CEO of Tippy and got to see part of the whole thing happen. And I was just like, this is amazing. And especially for nails, which not to say it like that, but they sometimes look at us like the little stepchild of the beauty industry. We kind of got to fight our way to make sure that accounting is being done, that the record keeping, that the pay, everything is again fair and transparent. And Tippy was a great solution for that.
Hmm. Going through that process, or what was going through that process like? Because I know it's still implementing something new in the business. It's still a technology tool, and sometimes that can be a little scary or intimidating to think about. But what was that actual sign up going through the process for you guys like?
It was pretty easy. I think I was on the phone for maybe just like a couple hours with Aura and Tippy total, maybe if it was even that long. And then once you played with it a few times, I mean, figured it out. But it was good. Yeah, it was pretty easy, I think.
It was pretty easy, but I'll be a little transparent because I am not the most tech savvy person. Sometimes I just need to know, like, what do I click? Like, you're telling me what to do, but where exactly am I supposed to do it? And the whole support team was so sweet and so patient with me. Like, I was so grateful. But overall, yes, it was a very easy process once I kind of did it a couple times, especially with onboarding new people. It's pretty much done for you. And that was the most hardest part. Like, it was uh so simple. It was like, okay, wait a minute, am I missing something? And it's like, no, that's actually it, you're done. So
Hmm. Yeah. Have you ever switched from like PC to Mac or vice versa? It's like learning a whole new process, although it's not like new or hard. It's just navigating a different system. And it's like, oh, what do I do? Where do I go? So that's great that you had, support walking you through exactly what to do on all those things. And it is easy now. And it looks really pretty, I think, at the front desk.
it's so beautiful. It literally says, I'm here to check you out.
And
Yeah.
So cute.
everyone
It's
loves
the
that.
cutest thing.
They're like,
The
oh,
clients love that. Like, oh, are you now?
Mhm. So we know the process of going through it now and how clients navigate that at the checkout currently. What was your tipping process previously?
when I was using the previous software, if they had like two different service providers, if they wanted to tip separately, sometimes you'd have to do like two different transactions and like you couldn't combine things. And that was really hard. So I like with this, if you have two different service providers, it's like first, you know, one name will pop up and you tip them, and then the next one will pop up. So there's no question about if that person's going to get money or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mhm. Yep. In our previous software, when a client would tip with a credit card, it would just tip to the total balance of the service. So I would manually have to go back and decipher what was which. They kind of had some upgrades and it became easier. But again, with the nuances of nails, the system, that's why I said Aura and Tippy together is such a superpower because even when like I figured out one part, the other part didn't match. Like as far as breaking down who did what in the different prices and the why, like it gets a little twisted and it just was so much easier.
I agree with
Mm-hmm.
that.
When
Yeah.
you had both of this can be for both of you. When you had those prior setups, were your staff waiting then for their tip funds and payroll? Were you playing banker and cashing out at the end of the day? How were you distributing tips during that time?
I
I
did.
was still doing it every night.
Yeah.
So you
All
were
right.
doing bank runs every day, stocking the cash drawer, handing it out every day. Oh my goodness. No wonder you were going to go crazy. That's a lot. So
It
hard.
was a lot. And then I backed off and I spoke to the team and I was like, y'all, this is just burning me out. Like, can we at least do maybe 2 or 3 days? You'll get it like within. And I was like, yeah, Q is fine. It wasn't a big deal. But I was like, I didn't like it because I just didn't feel it was fair. As someone, I've bartended for a big chunk of my life before. I've waited tables. I've been a nail tech, obviously. And I know how important it is to have those tips, especially nowadays. Shoot, just getting gas to come back to work. Sometimes, if you had a slow week, you need that. And no one should have to wait for money that they earned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. So if another salon owner were to ask you guys, about this process, or if it was worth implementing in your business, what is your advice? Or even if somebody's maybe a little resistant or a little hesitant on it, but they identify that they need to implement something, what is sort of your feedback or what would be your words of advice for them? We'll go with Miranda first. Do you have anything?
Um, I think, I think it's definitely worth it. And if you have any questions while you're trying to set it up, the customer support was really great for me. So I don't know why you wouldn't do it if your employees can get their cash right away or their money right away,
Hmm.
and without you having to do a million bank runs a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and as you said before, it almost pays you to use it. You get a rebate. That's the one of the. I mean, and I didn't even realize that was one of the emails I kind of missed. And I was like, well, wait a minute, did I read that right? Like, so that I
That
it was
happened to me
just,
too. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess
oh,
that's a thing. I
that's
didn't know that. That's fun.
yeah, that was a sweet little surprise of an inbox, right? So that and comparative to whatever they're doing now, I haven't seen anything else like this on the market. So I put it apples to oranges to whatever your process is now. This is easier. This is better. This is faster. This is more transparent, and you get paid for it. So yeah, try it.
Hmm. And with the integration with Aura and Tippy, of course, the way that that really works with the iPad sitting in, even, we have salons that don't have front desk and maybe they have kiosk stations or maybe they only use the iPads and it can kind of float around. But with that, it's right there at the checkout. So they do see your beautiful pictures and it does work with your Aura account. So everything that's done in the Tippy iPad reports back into Tippy. So you can find your Tippy tips reports in both your Aura account or your Tippy dashboard, and they both reconcile the same, right? So they both speak the same language, which is also really nice for, and it eliminates sort of that tracking problem, like what Miranda, you were having. So I do agree. Of course, I agree that the partnership is much more powerful when it is together. It makes things a lot more smooth and a lot more seamless in the salon, especially for reporting and tracking, income and saying, hey, this is on average how much people are earning in tips every year or every month. And you can see that. And it does encourage recruiting processes and it does encourage for them to report and to be able to see what they're spending and be conscious about what they're spending their money on. So I agree with everything you guys said. Marci, is there any final words or things that you would like to share regarding Tippy and sort of how this bill has implemented or impacted businesses or employees or service providers of any type?
I think I actually just have one other question for Miranda and Quinice, if I may.
Yeah,
Curious,
please.
because one thing that didn't come up in this conversation, it's not necessarily tax related, but with the implementation piece, there is, as you know, a small fee that gets passed along to the client, and that is something that some people find causes a little bit of friction, at least for themselves, as they're trying to implement this and determining whether or not. What was your experience with that? Did your clients receive it well? Was it all in how you presented it? Just what was your experience like implementing that and passing that fee along to the client?
Actually only had two people question it, and I just explained to them why it was like that, and they're like, "Oh, that makes sense. I'll just bring cash next time." I'm like, "Okay." I think that it's really common where we live, at least, for people to charge like the credit card processing fee. I don't, but so the small amount that Tippy does, it's like, well, that's it. But
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, same. We haven't had many people really care too much about it. The few that have mentioned, once I explained, like, hey, I wish I didn't have to, but that's just where we are in the world. You know, if you see Visa, MasterCard, and American Express walking down the street, you punch them in the face for me, okay? And they say, okay. And then we keep rolling. And then it's just fine.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think you both just based off of how you both operate your businesses, I'm sure that your communication went really well with your clients. And I think that's just the key to it is just being able to explain. And the reality of it is we do see an increase in tips, right? So you're essentially being able to give your staff a raise without having to raise your prices either, so that minimal fee that they're paying on those small transactions when they come in to visit is just helping to benefit their service provider. And once they understand that, I think most people are just okay with it.
Yeah, because they want everyone to get paid. And again, that's been such a terrible thing in the nail industry. There's literally slave labor happening. It's truly disgusting. So to be able to say with pride that yes, this is for your nail tech. Yes, we protect them and make sure that they're getting what they're due. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Mhm. Agree. Awesome. Good question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions that we did not ask that you'd like to bring up?
No, I think this was great. I think we covered a lot today in this a little bit of time.
Awesome. Okay, so if you're not using Tippy today and you're interested in learning more about it, you can go to aurasalonwear.com/Tippy and you can get started there. You can get connected with Marci or somebody from her team, and you can talk about your business. You can ask them any questions that you have. You can get some extra information, learn how to get started or get signed up, learn what that process looks like, whatever you need. She's available and her team is always available. They're very easy and great to work with. So if you have questions, you can go there. Um, Quinice or Miranda, are there any last final words or anything that you would like to share before we close?
I'm just really grateful, again, to partner and work with Aura and Tippy. I think they're both great platforms. I love what you guys are doing, not just for us as business owners, but to educate us as well. Even putting on webinars like this, I think is so important. I'm seeing a lot more resurgence of people just wanting to get more, not resurgence, wrong word, but increase of people wanting to get more tech savvy in their business and implement all of these great technologies. So I'm just excited to see what's next and continue to grow and learn with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And we appreciate both of you guys in your businesses and choosing to partner and work with us also. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining. Thank you for being here today. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks.
Guys, bye.
Bye.